Hey everybody, this is Kent Davis. I am the managing director of Panama Equity Real Estate. I've been living in Panama since 2007. So today I'm going to tell you about some myths, some untruths about being an expat in Panama, living in Panama, maybe some things that you might have seen on the internet that are not quite true. So the first thing that I came across and have been coming across is how inexpensive Panama is. Oh, you can live for $800 a month. You can live for $800 a month, but it's going to be a little tight. So Panama, some things are still really cheap in Panama. Taxis, Uber, really cheap in Panama. The movies, really cheap, $5.50, first run, beautiful theater. Healthcare, really inexpensive in Panama. However, food, not as cheap as you think. Now, there's a workaround there. However, if you go to a grocery store that brings in a lot of foreign products like your cheddar cheese and those crackers you love from home and, you know, that special bottle of whiskey that nobody else has except for Reba Smith or The Ray or Super 99, then you're going to discover pretty quickly that groceries, especially at those kind of places, are not that cheap. I'm from the US, and every time I go back, I'm like, whoa, Panama, you got a little bit expensive. When I first moved here in 2007, forget about it. It was very inexpensive, including groceries. However, whatever it was, inflation, tons of expats moving in, maybe, you know, cost of electricity, which is a little expensive. It's about 18 cents a kilowatt hour. That compares to places in Central America, not so bad. Places in South America, it's kind of expensive. In the US, it can be as cheap as half of that. Now, excuse me, we don't have heating costs here. But anyway, so back to groceries. Expect to pay, well, I've got another video on that in terms of food costs, but that's one myth, that Panama is super cheap. Food is expensive unless you know where to go. So we shop a lot at the local markets. We get a lot of food delivery from independent suppliers. We get our eggs delivered. We get our veggies delivered. We sometimes buy veggies from the guy on the truck. We get our seafood delivered, and you don't have that markup. You don't also have that convenience. So you maybe have to have a really big fridge, or you have to deal with eating, you know, Corvina for a week if you don't want to go to the grocery store and pick up, you know, octopus or snapper or whatever. You know, as I wipe a small tear from my eye that I've got to eat fresh, delicious Corvina for a week. But my point, guys, is that that's the first myth. Panama is super cheap. Rent can be a little expensive in the city. Plan on paying anywhere from, you know, $700 on up. And $700 per month for a unfurnished one bedroom that's maybe 800 square feet can be expensive if you come from certain cities in the US, certain parts of Europe. So rent, while coming down a little bit recently in 2020, is still considered kind of expensive. Now, after you get outside of the city, all bets are off. You can find food that's cheaper, rent that's cheaper, things get more interesting. But in the city, and to an extent in Coronado, which is about an hour from Panama City, it's a little bit expensive, but we still have some super cheap things. So there you go. I've also seen the haters say that Panama is dangerous. I mean, it's a big city, Panama City. We've got, what, 1.5 million people? So with that comes the neighborhoods that you might not want to go into at night with the big Nikon camera, you know. That said, things like pickpockets, almost a non-issue, unless you're in a massive crowd with a lot of drunk people and kids. Sorry, kids. In a place like Carnival where you're just like packed up against each other, and then just keep your wallet in your front pocket. You're not going to get mugged. Now, sometimes we've had the issue of home robberies when there is nobody around. People are marking out your business or your beach house and seeing, wow, these guys haven't been here for a month. I'm gonna break in, steal the TVs. Well, you know, there's ways around that. Have the neighbor come in, turn on the lights, park a car in front of there. You know, just make it look like there's people there. Just keep people out. And you do hear occasionally about an inside job where you bring a contractor in, contractor scopes out the area, comes back a week later with 4 of his friends and either knocks on your door and makes his way in your house or sneaks in your window and steals your stuff. Now, I can't say that that never happens, but I can say that it's not an issue such that people are really concerned about it. You know, you don't have bars on new houses. You get bars on old houses, but that's sort of old school, Panama in the 80s, right? Different world. So what else can I tell you? What are some other myths in Panama? Panama is run down. I mean, same areas where you don't want to go walking at night is probably not for someone who appreciates modern architecture. And yeah, you do get some trash on the street, kind of annoying, but you almost get used to it. Usually that's a function of either the trash men being sloppy. We don't have the US trash collection system where everybody puts their stuff in dumpsters and you got the machine, dumpsters in the trash truck. We don't have that yet. So, you know, it does get a little trashy after trash day, but usually the watchman, the concierge comes, sweeps it up. So unless you wake up early in the morning, around your building is not going to be a huge issue. But yeah, it's still Latin America, so it's still a little rough around the edges. We do get some traffic here. Another one I've seen, Panama being unwelcome to foreigners. Couldn't be further from the case. Panamanians are awesome, and Panamanians have been used to dealing with foreigners. Because remember, back in the 1900s, Panama was a part of Colombia, and then the French came, tried to build a canal, and then the Americans came, got the job done. Excuse me. And during that time, Panama changed hands. There's a political story that goes, and it's true, Colombia was negotiating the contract with the Americans to get the canal zone allocated, which is basically the land that runs from north to south and is now the Panama Canal. We were negotiating with the Colombians and said, hey guys, we want these terms. Colombia said, So the Americans brought their warships and said, so yeah, you guys ready to negotiate again? Meanwhile, they were talking to the Panamanians. Panamanians had a bloodless coup, and lo and behold, in the early 1900s, I want to say like 1904, I need to know that. I did know that from my Panamanian citizenship test. But Colombia became Panama. And the day Colombia became Panama was full of French, Americans, Jamaicans, and Chinese who had come down 50 years prior to build the Panama Canal, Panama Railroad. So Panama has always had foreigners from day one, like a lot of immigrants. And Panamanians are cool, almost boringly cool, in that if you think you're awesome and you're, I'm a gringo, and nobody's gonna everybody's gonna be like, oh wow, gringo, I don't see those every day. Sorry, they do. And they're kind of used to it, which is nice at the end of the day. It's lovely that Panamanians are so accepting. And in fact, the law protects foreigners with the same rights and protections as Panamanians when it comes to owning property, with a few very small exceptions. So even the country is structured to welcome immigrants, which is awesome. Makes living here really fun. Panamanians are just lovely. They like to joke and laugh and hang out. So that's another one. Let's talk about the weather for a second. Everybody says Panama is hot. They're right. No, we have some higher elevation areas like El Valle, Boquete, and Altos de Maria, those 3 mountain communities. But in general, Panama is a little warm. We don't have any snow ever, anywhere, never have. No hurricanes either, which is pretty great. But yeah, Panama is pretty warm. I don't mind it. I'm from Hawaii. I would say generally during the summer months, which funny enough are from January or late December to about April, are dry. That's our dry months. So it's sort of a dry heat, but plan on, 30, even 35 degrees Celsius, which is like hot, 90 to 95, 85 to 95 Fahrenheit. So it gets hot. That's why you don't go walking on the Cinta Costera in the middle of the day. Voila, everybody has air conditioning. Problem solved. And at night, it's lovely. At night, it gets down to what? 25, 28 degrees, which is like, mid 70s, high 70s. So you open up the windows. We don't even use air conditioning in our house during the day. We do like air conditioning at night though. In our bedroom, we've got a 12,000 BTU split unit. But anyway, so yeah, the weather in Panama, it is hot, but it's not super hot. Whatever, it's tropical. You get used to it. Another myth busted is you have to have 100% cash to buy real estate in Panama. Not the case either. You can definitely get financing, generally 30 to 40% down, so 60 to 70% loan to value. Rates are a little bit higher in the US, a little bit higher than the US, I should say, but it is what it is. So guys, there you go, busting myths, one myth at a time. Thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, make sure to subscribe and also make sure to have a great day. Ciao.